A life built on hiding. Rachel Bennett sat behind the polished reception desk of Henderson Corporate Tower, her fingers moving across the keyboard with practiced efficiency. The morning sun streamed through the tall glass windows, casting gentle shadows across the marble floor. She answered phones, greeted visitors, and managed appointments with a professional smile that had become second nature over the past 3 years. Nobody knew her real story. Nobody knew that Rachel Bennett was not her true name. Nobody knew about the life she had left behind or the reasons she had spent nearly a decade running from her past. The office around her buzzed with the usual Monday morning energy. Employees rushed past with coffee cups and briefcases. Phones rang constantly. The elevator doors opened and closed, bringing new faces and familiar ones. Rachel had learned to blend into this world perfectly, becoming invisible in plain sight. Her coworker Jennifer leaned over from the neighboring desk. "Did you hear? We're getting a new CEO today. Apparently, he bought out the company last month. Everyone says he's some kind of business genius." Rachel nodded politely, keeping her eyes on the computer screen. CEOs came and went. It did not matter to her. She would continue doing her job, collecting her paycheck, and going home to the only person who truly mattered in her life, the arrival that changed everything at precisely 9 o'clock. The main entrance doors swung open. Rachel glanced up automatically, ready to greet whoever entered. Her breath caught in her throat. Time seemed to freeze. James Mitchell walked through those doors like he owned the place, which technically he now did. Tall and confident, he wore a perfectly tailored navy suit. His dark hair was styled back, revealing strong features that had matured over the years but remained unmistakably familiar. His presence commanded attention from everyone in the lobby. Rachel's heart hammered against her ribs. Her hands trembled so badly she had to grip the edge of the desk. This could not be happening. Not here. Not now. Not after all these years of hiding. James stopped in the center of the lobby, his executive team gathering around him. Then his gaze swept across the room and landed directly on her. His entire body went rigid. The professional mask on his face cracked, revealing shock, disbelief, and something that looked like pain. Their eyes locked. 10 years dissolved in an instant. "Claire," he whispered, though he stood too far away for her to hear. But she saw her real name form on his lips, and panic flooded through her system. The confrontation begins. Rachel looked down quickly, pretending to be absorbed in her work. Her pulse raced. She could feel his stare burning into her. Around them, employees continued their morning routines. Completely unaware of the silent earthquake happening between their new CEO and the IAP receptionist, James moved toward the reception desk, his team following behind him. Each step he took made Rachel's anxiety spike higher. She wanted to run. She wanted to disappear. But she was trapped behind this desk, in this moment, with nowhere to hide. He stopped directly in front of her desk. "Good morning," he said, his voice carefully controlled. "I'm James Mitchell, the new CEO." Rachel forced herself to look up and meet his eyes. "Welcome to Henderson Corporate, Mr. Mitchell. How can I help you today?" "Your name?" he asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer would be a lie. "Rachel Bennett. I'm the head receptionist." "Rachel Bennett," he repeated the name slowly, as if testing how it felt. "How long have you worked here, Rachel?" 3 years, sir." James placed both hands on the desk and leaned forward slightly. His voice dropped lower, meant only for her ears. "We need to talk, privately now."
"How?"
Rachel shook her head. "I'm sorry, sir, but I have responsibilities here at the desk. Perhaps you could schedule an appointment through my supervisor." "I own this building now," James said quietly but firmly. "That makes me your supervisor."
"At my office."
10 minutes. He straightened up and walked toward the executive elevators without waiting for her response. His team followed, casting curious glances back at Rachel. Jennifer whistled low. "Wow, what was that about? Did you know him before or something?" "No," Rachel lied automatically. "I have no idea what he wants." The past catches up. The 10 minutes passed too quickly. Rachel's mind raced through possibilities and escape plans, but she knew running would only make things worse. She had a daughter to think about now. She could not just vanish again, not when Emma depended on her for stability and safety. She took the elevator to the top floor, her legs feeling like they might give out at any moment. The executive level was quiet and luxurious, with thick carpeting and expensive artwork on the walls. A secretary directed her to the corner office with floor-2 ceiling windows overlooking the city. James stood with his back to the door, staring out at the skyline. When she entered, he spoke without turning around. "Close the door. Lock it." Rachel hesitated, but complied. The click of the lock sounded unnaturally loud in the quiet office. 10 years, James said, finally turning to face her. 10 years, Claire. Or should I call you Rachel now? My name is Rachel, she said firmly, though her voice shook. Your name is Claire Donovan. You were 20 years old when we met. You worked as a waitress at the Sterling restaurant. We spent 3 months together before you vanished without a trace. Tears stung Rachel's eyes, but she blinked them away. That person doesn't exist anymore. Why? James's voice cracked with emotion. Why did you leave? What did I do wrong? I searched for you everywhere. I hired private investigators. I checked hospitals, morgues, missing persons databases. You just disappeared, like you were never real. I had my reasons. What reasons could possibly justify abandoning someone who loved you? James moved closer, his eyes pleading for understanding. Did I scare you? Did I do something? Say something? I have replayed every moment we spent together 1,000 times, trying to understand what went wrong. Rachel wrapped her arms around herself. You did nothing wrong, James. This was never about you. Then what was it about? Help me understand. She looked away, unable to bear the raw pain in his eyes. There were people looking for me. Dangerous people. I had to disappear to keep everyone safe, including you.
What people?
What danger? Claire, talk to me. My name is Rachel, she repeated desperately. Claire Donovan died 10 years ago. She had to die so that Rachel Bennett could survive. James ran his hands through his hair, frustration and confusion warring on his face. This doesn't make sense. What kind of danger forces someone to fake their own death and hide for a decade? Before Rachel could answer, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out and saw a text from Patricia, her neighbor. Emma is asking about you. When will you be home? The phone slipped from her suddenly nerveless fingers. James caught it reflexively and glanced at the screen. His expression changed from confusion to shock. Emma, he asked quietly. Who is Emma? Rachel's face went pale. My daughter, she whispered. The silence that followed was deafening. James stared at her, and she watched as he did the mental calculations. 10 years since she disappeared. A daughter named Emma. How old is she? He asked, his voice barely audible. Rachel closed her eyes. The truth she had hidden for so long was finally coming out, and there was no way to stop it now. She just turned 7. James sank into his desk chair as if his legs could no longer support him. He looked at Rachel with a mixture of hope, fear, and desperate need for confirmation. Is she mine? The question hung in the air between them, heavy with implications that would change everything. Rachel opened her mouth to answer, but the words would not come. How could she explain? How could she make him understand the impossible choices she had made? Is she mine? James repeated, his voice stronger now, demanding an answer. Rachel's tears finally fell. She nodded slowly. Unable to speak past the lump in her throat, James stood up so abruptly that his chair rolled backward and hit the wall. I have a daughter? A 7-year-old daughter that you kept hidden from me? I was protecting her, Rachel said quickly. I was protecting both of you. From what? What could possibly justify hiding my child from me for 7 years? From the people who were after me? From the life I was running from? I couldn't let them use her to get to me, and I couldn't let them hurt you to find us. James paced the office like a caged animal. You should have told me. You should have let me help. Instead, you stole 7 years of my daughter's life from me. 7 years of birthdays, first days of school, bedtime stories, everything. I did what I thought was right. You were wrong. James stopped pacing and faced her directly. You were so incredibly wrong, Claire, Rachel, whoever you are now. You robbed me of being a father. I'm sorry, Rachel sobbed. I'm so sorry. But I didn't know what else to do. I was scared and alone, and I thought disappearing was the only way to keep everyone safe. James closed his eyes and took several deep breaths, clearly trying to control his emotions. When he opened them again, his expression had hardened with determination. "I want to meet her," he said. "Today? Right now?" "No." Rachel shook her head frantically. "She doesn't know about you. She doesn't know she has a father. I can't just spring this on her without preparation. You've had 7 years to prepare her," James said coldly. "I've had 7 minutes to process that I have a child. We're both unprepared, but I'm done waiting. I've already waited 10 years without even knowing she existed. Please, James, give me time to talk to her first. Let me explain things gently. She's just a little girl." James studied her face for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. "You have until this weekend. Saturday morning, I'm coming to meet my daughter. And if you run again, if you try to disappear with her, I will use every resource I have to find you. I will not lose another day with her. Do you understand?" Rachel nodded miserably. "I understand. Where do you live?" She gave him her address, knowing there was no point in refusing. He would find it anyway. Saturday, 9 o'clock. "Don't make me wait." James turned back to the window, dismissing her. Rachel left his office on shaking legs. Everything she had built over the past 10 years was crumbling around her. The safe, quiet life she had created for herself and Emma was about to change forever. The weight of truth. Rachel barely remembered the drive home that afternoon. Her supervisor had taken one look at her pale face and shaking hands before sending her home early. The city streets blurred past her car windows as her mind replayed the confrontation. With James over and over, she pulled into the parking lot of her modest apartment building and sat in the car for several minutes, trying to compose herself. Emma would be home from school by now, waiting with Patricia. Her daughter had a way of reading her moods, and Rachel needed to appear calm and normal until she figured out how to explain the impossible. Patricia greeted her at the door with a concerned expression. "You're home early, dear. Are you feeling all right? You look quite pale." "Just a headache," Rachel managed. "Thank you for watching Emma after school." The elderly woman gathered her knitting bag, but paused at the door. "That sweet girl asked about her father again today. She saw a father-daughter dance announcement at school." Patricia's eyes held gentle understanding. "Children need answers eventually, Rachel. The questions don't stop just because we avoid them." After Patricia left, Rachel found Emma in her bedroom, sprawled on the floor with crayons and paper scattered around her. The little girl looked up with a bright smile that was heartbreakingly similar to James's. How had Rachel never noticed before? The same warm brown eyes, the same dimple in the left cheek when she smiled, even the way she tilted her head when concentrating.
"Mommy."
"You're home early?" Emma jumped up and hugged her mother's waist. "Can we make chocolate chip cookies tonight?" Rachel held her daughter close, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. "Of course, sweetie. But first, I need to talk to you about something important." A story 10 years old that evening. After cookies were baked and Emma was tucked into bed, Rachel sat in the darkness of her living room and let herself remember. She had locked these memories away so tightly for so long. But now they flooded back with painful clarity. 10 years ago, Claire Donovan had been a completely different person. 20 years old, working 2 jobs to support herself through community college, living in a tiny studio apartment in downtown Chicago. Her father had disappeared when she was 16, leaving behind massive gambling debts to dangerous people. Her mother had passed away from cancer 2 years later. Leaving Claire alone with the burden of her father's mistakes, the loan sharks had found Claire eventually. They wanted their money, and they did not care that she had nothing to do with her father's debts. They made it clear that one way or another, they would collect what was owed. Then she met James Mitchell at the Sterling restaurant, where she worked evening shifts. He came in regularly for business dinners, always polite, always generous with tips. One night, he stayed after his colleagues left and struck up a conversation. They talked until the restaurant closed, and then they walked along the waterfront until dawn. For 3 months, Claire experienced happiness she had never known. James was brilliant, ambitious, kind, and completely devoted to her. He talked about their future together, about building something meaningful. Claire fell in love completely and terrifyingly, but the loan sharks did not forget. They found her apartment, trashed it, and left a message written in red paint on the wall. Your father's debt is now yours. Pay up or pay with blood. The next day, Claire discovered she was pregnant. She sat on the bathroom floor of her destroyed apartment, holding the positive test, and felt her entire world collapse. She could not bring a child into this nightmare. She could not let James become a target. The loan sharks would use anyone she loved as leverage, so she made the hardest decision of her life. She withdrew every penny from her bank account, bought a bus ticket to Boston under a false name, and disappeared. She left no note, no explanation, nothing that could be traced. Claire Donovan ceased to exist. Building Rachel's life, Rachel Bennett was born in a women's shelter in Boston. A sympathetic social worker helped her obtain new documents, find a small apartment, and get a job cleaning offices at night. When Emma was born, Rachel was completely alone in a hospital room, terrified and determined. The first year was brutal. Rachel worked 3 jobs while caring for an infant. She slept in shifts of 2 or 3 hours. She ate whatever was cheapest. But Emma thrived. Her daughter was healthy, happy, and safe. That was all that mattered. By the time Emma turned to, Rachel had managed to create a stable life. She completed her GED under her new name, took online courses in business administration, and eventually landed the receptionist position at Henderson Corporate. It was respectable work with decent pay and health insurance. She could afford a better apartment. Emma could attend a good school. For 5 years, Rachel believed she had succeeded. The loan sharks had given up searching for Claire Donovan. Her father had died in prison, taking his debts to the grave. Rachel and Emma were building a real life, free from the past. But she had never stopped thinking about James. On lonely nights, she searched his name online, reading about his business successes and feeling proud despite knowing she had no right to those feelings. She saw photos of him at charity events, always alone or with business associates, never with a romantic partner. Part of her hoped he had moved on and found happiness. Another part, the selfish part, was glad he had not. Now he had found her, and everything was about to change. Preparing an Friday evening. Rachel made Emma's favorite dinner and set up a cozy spot on the couch with blankets and hot chocolate. Her daughter snuggled against her side, content and trusting. Rachel's heart ached with what she was about to do. Emma, sweetheart, remember how you've asked about your daddy? Emma sat up straight, her eyes wide and focused. Yes. Is he coming home? Does he want to meet me? He does want to meet you very much. But I need to explain some things first, okay? For the next hour, Rachel told her daughter an edited version of the truth. She explained that she and Emma's father had loved each other very much 10 years ago. But Rachel had to leave to keep them all safe. She told Emma that her father had never stopped looking for them, and now he had finally found them. Tomorrow, he would come to meet her. Emma's questions came rapid fire. What was his name? What did he look like? Why couldn't he find them sooner? Did he know about her? Would he live with them now? Rachel answered as honestly as she could, watching her daughter's face cycle through excitement, confusion, nervousness, and hope. Finally, Emma asked the question that broke Rachel's heart. Does he want to be my daddy? Really and truly? Not just visit sometimes? Really and truly, Rachel promised. He wants to be your father more than anything in the world. That night, Emma could barely sleep from excitement. Rachel heard her daughter talking to her stuffed animals, telling them about the father she would meet tomorrow. Rachel lay awake in her own bed, anxiety twisting her stomach into knots. Saturday morning arrived. Saturday morning dawned bright and clear. Rachel helped Emma pick out her favorite dress, the purple one with white flowers. They brushed her long dark hair until it shined. Emma chattered nervously, asking the same questions over and over. At exactly 9 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Emma raced to answer it, but Rachel caught her hand. Wait, sweetie. Let me get it first. She opened the door to find James standing in the hallway, looking as nervous as she felt. He wore jeans and a casual button-down shirt, dressed down from his usual business attire. In his hands, he carried a large wrapped present and a bouquet of flowers. Their eyes met briefly, 1,000 unspoken words passing between them. Then Emma peeked around Rachel's legs, and James's entire face transformed. He knelt down to be at eye level with his daughter. "Hello, Emma," he said softly. "I'm James. I'm your father." Emma studied him carefully, taking in every detail. "You have the same eyes as me," she observed. "And the same nose." James smiled, and his dimple appeared. Emma gasped and touched her own cheek. "The same smile, too." "That's right," James said, his voice thick with emotion. "You look just like me. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Emma stepped forward shyly. "Mommy says you've been looking for us for a really long time. Every single day, I hoped I would find you. Why did it take so long?" James glanced at Rachel, who gave a small nod of permission. "Because your mommy had to keep you safe, and sometimes keeping people safe means hiding where bad people can't find you. But the bad people are gone now, so we can all be together." Emma thought about this seriously. "Did you bring me a present?" James laughed, the sound relieved and genuine. "I did. Would you like to open it?" They moved into the apartment, and Emma tore into the wrapping paper with childish enthusiasm. Inside was an elaborate dollhouse, 3 stories tall, with tiny furniture and lights that actually worked. Emma's squeal of delight echoed through the small apartment. "This is the best present ever." "Thank you, Daddy." The word Daddy hit James like a physical blow. His eyes filled with tears, and he had to turn away for a moment to compose himself. When he turned back, Emma had already started arranging the miniature furniture. Completely absorbed in her new toy, Rachel stood in the kitchen doorway, watching them. James joined her there, standing close enough that she could feel the warmth of his body. "Thank you," he whispered, "for telling her about me, for letting me meet her." "You're her father," Rachel said simply. "She deserves to know you. Can I take her to the park? I want to spend time with her, get to know her." Rachel hesitated only a moment before nodding. She would love that. "There's a playground 3 blocks away. She knows the way. The park and New Beginnings." Emma led James to the park, holding his hand and talking nonstop about school, her friends, her favorite books, and everything else that popped into her 7-year-old mind. James listened to every word like it was the most important information in the world. At the playground, he pushed her on the swings, caught her at the bottom of the slide, and lifted her up to the monkey bars. Other parents smiled at the happy father-daughter pair, not knowing they were witnessing a first meeting rather than a routine outing. "Daddy," Emma said as they sat on a bench sharing ice cream cones, "will you come see me every day now?" "I want to," James said carefully, "but I need to talk with your mommy about how to make that work. I live far away from here right now. You could move closer. Or we could move closer to you." "Maybe," James agreed. "We'll figure something out. I promise I won't disappear like before. I will always be here for you now." Emma leaned against his side, and James wrapped his arm around her, marveling at the small, solid weight of his daughter. 7 years of her life had passed without him, but he was determined not to miss another day. When they returned to the apartment, Rachel had lunch ready. They ate together awkwardly, the adults hyper-aware of each other while Emma bridged the gap with her innocent chatter. After lunch, Emma wanted to show James her bedroom, artwork, her collection of books. Every important detail of her life, James absorbed it all, taking mental photographs of everything. This was his daughter's world, the world Rachel had built for her. Despite his anger about the lost years, he could not deny that Rachel had done a good job raising their child. Emma was smart, confident, kind, and happy. Difficult conversations after Emma fell asleep on the couch during an afternoon movie. James and Rachel finally had the conversation they had been avoiding. They sat at the small kitchen table, speaking in low voices. "I contacted my lawyer," James said. "About custody arrangements?" Rachel's face went pale. "You're taking me to court?" "I don't want to, but I need legal recognition as her father. I need rights and responsibilities formalized. You understand that, don't you?" Rachel nodded slowly. "What are you asking for?" "Joint custody. Shared decision-making about her education, health care, major life choices, regular visitation. I want to be involved in her life, Rachel." Really involved, not just the fun uncle who visits sometimes. She needs stability. She can't be shuttled back and forth between homes. I know. That's why I'm proposing this. I'm moving to Boston. I can run my company from anywhere, and I want to be near Emma. I'll find a place close to your apartment, close to her school. That way she can maintain her routine while getting to know me. Rachel stared at him. You would uproot your entire life. She's my daughter, James said simply. She's more important than any business deal or city or convenience. I've already missed 7 years. I won't miss another day if I can help it. Tears rolled down Rachel's cheeks. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for keeping her from you. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I see now how much I hurt you. James reached across the table and took her hand. I'm angry. I won't lie about that. Part of me wants to punish you for what you took from me. But Emma needs both of us to be adults about this. She needs us to work together for her sake. I'll agree to joint custody, Rachel said. You're right. You deserve to be her father fully, not just in name. There's something else we need to discuss, James said carefully. Us. Rachel pulled her hand back. There is no us. That ended 10 years ago, did it? Because I never stopped loving you, Claire. Rachel, whatever name you use, you're still the woman I fell in love with. That woman doesn't exist anymore. I've changed. You've changed. We're different people now. And let me get to know the person you've become, James pressed. Give me a chance. Not for the past, but for the future. For Emma, Rachel shook her head. I can't think about that right now. It's too much. Can we just focus on Emma for now, please? James looked disappointed but nodded. For now. But Rachel, I'm not giving up on us. I found you again after 10 years. I'm not letting you go a second time. Learning to be a family the next 3 months transformed all their lives in ways none of them could have predicted. James kept his promise, relocating his primary residence to Boston and renting a spacious townhouse. Only 10 minutes from Rachel and Emma's apartment, he converted one of the bedrooms into a princess room for Emma, complete with a canopy bed, bookshelves full of stories, and a window seat overlooking a small garden. Emma adapted to having a father with remarkable ease. Children possessed an incredible capacity for accepting new realities. And for her, James's presence filled a gap she had always felt but never quite understood. She started calling him Daddy without hesitation. James responded to the title with visible emotion every single time. He picked Emma up from school twice a week, taking her for ice cream or to the park. He attended her school play, sitting in the front row and clapping louder than anyone when she delivered her 3 lines as tree number 4. He helped with homework at the kitchen table, patiently explaining multiplication tables and reading comprehension questions. Rachel watched these interactions with a mixture of relief and sadness. Relief that Emma was bonding with her father, that the transition was going smoothly, sadness for the years they had all lost, and for the complicated feelings stirring in her own heart whenever she saw James. The custody agreement, the legal proceedings moved forward professionally and surprisingly amicably. James's lawyer drew up a custody agreement that heavily favored maintaining Emma's stability. She would continue living primarily with Rachel in their apartment, attending the same school and keeping the same routines. James would have her every Wednesday, overnight, and every other weekend. With flexibility for holidays and special occasions, more importantly, they agreed to joint legal custody, meaning both parents would have equal say in major decisions about Emma's life. Medical choices, educational planning, religious upbringing, all would be discussed and decided together the day they signed the papers in the lawyer's office. Rachel felt simultaneously liberated and terrified. This was real now. James was officially Emma's father, with all the rights and responsibilities that entailed. She could not change her mind or run away anymore. They were bound together permanently through their daughter. After the signing, James suggested lunch to celebrate, just the 2 of them. Rachel agreed reluctantly, and they found themselves at a quiet restaurant near the waterfront, reminiscent of the places they used to go 10 years ago. Confronting the past, "Tell me everything," James said, once their food arrived. No more secrets, no more half-truths. I need to understand what happened to you, what you've been through. Rachel took a deep breath and told him the full story. Her father's gambling addiction and the massive debts to organized crime figures, the threats and intimidation after he disappeared, the fear that consumed her life, meeting James and falling in love, only to discover she was pregnant just as the danger escalated to violence. They burned down my neighbor's car as a warning, Rachel explained, her voice shaking with the memory. The man had tried to help me, called the police when he saw suspicious people in the building. They set his car on fire in broad daylight, and the police couldn't do anything without witnesses willing to testify. James listened without interrupting, his face growing darker as the story unfolded. I realized that anyone close to me would become a target, Rachel continued. If they knew about you, they would have used you to get to me. If they knew about the baby, they would have used her. I couldn't risk it, so I disappeared completely. I thought it was the only way to protect everyone I loved. Why didn't you come back after your father died? James asked. You said the debts died with him. That was 5 years ago. Rachel looked down at her plate. By then, I had built a whole new life. Emma was 2 years old, and she had never known anything except being Rachel Bennett's daughter. How could I suddenly reappear as Claire Donovan? How could I explain to you that I had kept your daughter hidden for 2 years? The longer I waited, the more impossible it seemed to come back. So you would have kept hiding forever if I hadn't bought that company. I don't know, Rachel admitted honestly. Part of me wanted to find you, to tell you about Emma, but I was terrified of your reaction. Terrified you would hate me. Terrified you would try to take her away. James reached across the table and took both her hands in his. I could never hate you. I was angry, yes. I still am sometimes. But I understand why you did what you did. You were protecting our daughter. You were protecting me, even though I never asked you to. That takes a kind of courage I'm not sure I possess. Tears streamed down Rachel's face. I'm so sorry for the years you lost with her. Can't change the past, James said gently. But we can build a better future, together, as a family. Unexpected complications, their co-parenting arrangement worked smoothly until the incident at Emma's school. Rachel received a call from the principal one Tuesday afternoon, asking both parents to come in for an emergency meeting. When Rachel called James in a panic, he left a board meeting immediately, met her at the school. Emma sat in the principal's office with red eyes and a defiant expression. The principal, Mrs. Harrison, looked uncomfortable as she explained the situation. Emma got into a physical altercation with another student, Mrs. Harrison said carefully. She pushed Timothy Rodriguez off the playground equipment. He wasn't seriously hurt, but this kind of behavior is completely unlike Emma. We need to understand what happened. Emma crossed her arms and glared at the floor. Rachel knelt beside her daughter's chair. Sweetie, can you tell us what happened? Timothy said mean things, Emma muttered. What kind of mean things? James asked gently. Emma's lower lip trembled. He said that you're not my real daddy. He said that real daddies live with their kids all the time, and since you don't live with us, you must be fake. He said you probably don't even love me. James's face went pale. He looked at Rachel, and she saw her own pain reflected in his eyes. The consequences of their complicated situation were hurting their daughter, Sweetie. Rachel pulled Emma into a hug. That's not true at all. Your daddy loves you more than anything in the world. James knelt down on Emma's other side. Timothy doesn't understand our family, and that's okay. Not all families look the same. Some kids have 2 parents who live together. Some have parents who live apart. Some have 1 parent or grandparents or foster families. What matters isn't where people live, but how much they love each other. But why don't you live with us? Emma asked, tears flowing now. Don't you want to? The question hung in the air. Rachel and James looked at each other over their daughter's head, both struggling with how to answer. A difficult decision that evening. After Emma was tucked into bed at Rachel's apartment, James stayed to talk. They sat on the couch with careful space between them, both emotionally exhausted from the day's events. She has a point, James said quietly. Our living arrangement is confusing for her. She doesn't understand why her family can't all be together. Most 7-year-olds with separated parents deal with this, Rachel pointed out. She adjusted. But we're not really separated, are we? James turned to face her. We were never married. We never broke up. We were in love, and then you disappeared. Those feelings don't just vanish because a decade passed. Rachel stood up, too agitated to sit still. James, we can't do this. We can't try to rebuild something that ended 10 years ago just because Emma wants a traditional family. Why not? James stood as well. Give me one good reason why we shouldn't try. Because we're different people now. Because you don't really know me anymore, and I don't know you. Because building a relationship just for Emma's sake isn't fair to any of us. Then let's get to know each other again, James said, moving closer. Not for Emma. For us. Because I still love you, Rachel. I never stopped. You love who I used to be. Claire Donovan, the girl from the restaurant. She's gone. No, she's not. She's standing right in front of me, just older and wiser and stronger. Still beautiful. Still the woman I fell in love with. Rachel shook her head, but she could not stop the tears. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can open my heart again and risk everything. James gently cupped her face in his hands. You've been running for 10 years, protecting everyone else. Maybe it's time to stop running. Maybe it's time to take a chance on being happy. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. But Rachel did not pull away. When his lips met hers, 10 years of loneliness and longing dissolved. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, questioning. Then Rachel's arms went around his neck, and James pulled her closer. And the kiss deepened with all the passion and emotion they had both been suppressing. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. James rested his forehead against hers. Tell me you don't feel anything, he whispered. Tell me this is just nostalgia or convenience, and I'll walk away. But if you feel even a fraction of what I feel, then we owe it to ourselves to try. Rachel could not lie. I feel it. I've felt it since the moment you walked into that lobby. But I'm scared, James. I'm terrified of messing this up, of hurting Emma, of losing everything again. We'll figure it out together, James promised. No more running. No more hiding. Just us, facing whatever comes together. 6 months later, the transition was not smooth or simple. Rachel and James approached their renewed relationship carefully, attending couples counseling to address the complex history and trauma. They went on actual dates, learning about the people they had become. They argued about parenting styles and household routines and all the normal things. Couples argued about, but they also laughed together. They built new memories. They attended Emma's school events as a united front, and slowly, carefully, they rebuilt trust. James officially moved into Rachel's apartment for months after that first kiss. And Emma's joy was limitless. She had both her parents under one roof, a real family just like she had always wanted. On a sunny Saturday morning, the three of them sat at the breakfast table, Emma chattering about her upcoming birthday party, while Rachel poured orange juice and James flipped pancakes. It was ordinary and domestic and absolutely perfect. Rachel caught James's eye across the kitchen, and he smiled at her with such love and contentment that her heart squeezed. She smiled back, finally allowing herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, they would be okay. They were not a traditional family. Their path to this moment had been complicated and painful, but they were together. They were building something real and lasting. Emma finished her pancakes and ran to get her coloring books. James pulled Rachel into his arms. Happy? He asked softly. Rachel nodded against his chest. Happier than I ever thought possible. No more running. No more running, she promised. This is home. You and Emma are my home. James kissed the top of her head. We found each other again, against all odds. That has to mean something. Means we get a second chance, Rachel said. And I'm not going to waste it. Through the window, they could see Emma playing in the small garden, dancing between flowers and laughing at something only she could see. Their daughter, the beautiful result of their love, happy and secure and thriving. Rachel had spent 10 years hiding, protecting, surviving. But now, finally, she could do more than survive. She could live. She could love. She could be free. The past could not be changed, but the future stretched ahead bright with possibility. Together, they would build the family they had always meant to be. Together, they would write a new story, one where love conquered fear and patience overcame obstacles. Their ending was really just a beginning.